right, man. Philip.
How's it going?
Good, man. Mindful mover. What'd you have for breakfast today?
Oh man, what did Martina make today? I think she made just some ground beef. She put some aged cheddar cheese on it. We had some sauerkraut with that, some rice vinegar on that, some egg yellows,
Damn,
and
that's
potatoes.
that's not a simple breakfast there.
Oh no, so we do intermittent fasting. We like places. So our dinner tends to be pretty like all out.
What? Oh, so you didn't. So did you just recently had the breakfast?
Yeah, probably about 2 hours ago actually.
Oh, so you do
Uh,
every day intermittent fasting, huh? You never like
yeah,
fall off that rule. Wow. Okay. Okay. Cool, man.
I think I've been doing it for like a year and a half now. Yeah.
Year and a half. Wow. And so you don't miss
hmm
breakfast still.
Yeah. No.
Do you do like the specific time window, sort of like 12 to 6 or whatever? You know how people do.
Ours is usually like around 16 8 or like 18 6. We're not too like super strict on it, but it's usually or at least 16 hours. And a bit more.
So basically, you're just mostly skipping breakfast or brunch that
Yeah.
those times, and
hmm
then
Yep.
late
The
at
first
night.
meal.
And how much time do you give
Yeah.
yourself before you go to sleep for food?
Usually around 3 to 4 hours.
Oh wow, wow. So you guys are like really condensed. That's legit stuff. That's no fucking
Yeah,
around.
it's a blast. It's a blast. We love it. Like ever since we've been doing it, we just love it so much. It feels great.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Thank-
So yeah, man. Because I've sort of watched you guys. I've been a long time follower of yours on Instagram, so I've sort of watched you evolve from, maybe eating 20 capsules of all kinds of multivitamins for breakfast to, I guess, intermittent fasting. So times have changed, and
They have
so,
definitely.
but just to start out, I mean, what was your initial sort of beginning into the fitness, quote unquote, whatever you want to call it, lifestyle and all that stuff? What did you do? Sports growing up, something like that?
Yeah. So when I was 13, I started martial arts.
Okay, which one?
Um, I started doing Muay Thai first.
Wow, that's not okay. Cool, man.
It was a blast, and then I started from there. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I went to wrestling, and I did that for a while,
hmm
and then I also got into breakdancing with some of our friends at a time.
hmm
And during one of our sessions, one of the guys was like, "Hey, you're kind of strong, Phil. You might want to look up B-Boy Junior. He's pretty cool. He can do planches. You might better do that too." Planche. So I go on the internet, look up a planche, and
uh-huh.
I'm like, "Oh, that is cool." And I'm looking up B-Boy Junior. And this guy's like floating in the air doing push-ups and fingertips. I'm like, "I need that right now in my life."
Yeah, man.
So I Google it. I find the old, all the Coach Summer posts, and
Oh, so that led you
I
straight into gymnastic bodies kind of stuff, huh?
yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
okay,
So I was active on that board from like 2000, I think 12
okay,
for a while,
okay.
and I learned a lot from them. On that board, I basically learned about Ido Portal,
Uh-huh.
and he referenced Charles Poliquin. So I got involved in the movement culture,
Okay.
and I got involved with Charles Poliquin.
Okay. Okay.
And so,
And I just said, have you heard of Chorito? You know Chorito, the Russian. How much are you into the b-boy culture nowadays? Not too much, eh?
oh no, not as much, sadly. Now I don't really like the old school ones. Like, my favorites were Junior,
Okay.
Darkness, and Cujo.
Okay.
But like,
Cujo. Yeah,
oh,
man. Those are like they're like the most athletic non-athletes, I think, right? I
yes,
mean,
yes.
if anybody doesn't know anything, I mean, just look up some b-boy dancing. I mean, they just do wild stuff, I think, right?
It's amazing. It's just like, wow, these guys just like heard of like Isaac Newton's laws of
hmm
physics. They're just like, nah, but I don't believe in that.
Well, and the big part for me, which is like they're just like having fun, right?
Yeah,
They're not really thinking about it as training or whatever, 6 sets of this or whatever. So, which is I think is
damn.
pretty inspiring. So when you were doing gymnastics bodies, did you sort of follow the typical kind of Coach Summers, layout of doing things, sort of
I,
3 to 15 repetitions, stuff like that? Yeah.
I did for a while. I found some of the volume to be really, really difficult. Like I'd
Mm-hmm.
just be like in the grind in his workouts. Like I'm like, that's a lot of reps. I
Mm-hmm.
can't count
Mm-hmm.
that high.
Mm-hmm.
Um, So I did that at first. I did some of like the workouts of the day and everything. And then later when I went to Poliquin seminars, I started writing my own workouts.
Okay.
And I went to like I think like 20 seminars with Charles Poliquin or something like that.
Wow. So this is back in the Poliquin biosignature days, right? Like when he had his own spot in Rhode Island, is it? That's
Rhode
right.
Island, mhm.
Yeah.
Rhode Island, yep.
So you actually went up to that gym, huh?
Oh, I flew there like so many times. The people at the hotel nearby like just knew me. They're like, "Oh, hey, you're back."
Wow, man. So you actually got to. And at that time, was he still teaching some of the seminars? Because I know later days he wasn't really him; it was all the students and stuff.
Yeah, when I first went there, he was teaching at that point. Like it was fun. He even insulted me one time. I was there and I had a tank.
That's an honor in the Poliquin community.
I'm wearing a tank top, and he comes in and he says, "All right, guys. Now, first rule: if you're going to wear a muscle shirt, you have to actually have muscles."
Oh yeah.
Pathetic.
Poliquin did not like you flexing, man.
Yeah.
You're still doing it though. I'm just kidding. And for those of you that are not watching, Philip is shirtless right now doing the podcast, so he's still flexing. He hasn't learned anything.
Still trying to get away with it.
Oh, that's funny, man. Okay, so you did a lot of those. You know, I've done a few seminars with him, but it was after he moved on to being strength sensei.
Okay.
So I never got to, work with at that gym. How cool was that gym? It had a lot of equipment, all that kind of stuff.
Oh man, that gym was like if you are a trainer, that gym was probably Disney World.
Yeah.
Like they had everything there. Like I'm talking squat racks that have like all the attachments on it. They had like chains, bands, eccentric hooks, like all sorts of stuff like that. Olympic lifting platforms. They even had bars. They're like, these bars are for powerlifting and these bars are for Olympic lifting. And it's like, I didn't know there was even a difference between the bars. Apparently there is. Like, apparently Olympic lifting bars have a little bit more whip to them.
Yeah, and they spin a little more too. Yeah. That's
I didn't
crazy,
know that
man.
until I went there, and I was like, that's crazy.
And so, who was Derek Woodsky, guys like that? They were still there when you were taking these classes?
Yeah, he did my PICP level 3. So I did that with him. I learned from Andre while he was there. Benoit.
Yeah.
Jeff Bonda. He became a little bit later. Mary was there.
Oh, and maybe Stefan, huh?
Oh yeah, that's it. I went with Stefan Gazul as well. I met with him later in life in California. Overhead his new gym Kilo, which is also once again Disney World for trainers. It's awesome too.
Yeah. He lives about an hour away from where I am. So I'm in LA. He's down in Huntington. So yeah, I've been to their gym and one of their seminars too. Yeah, so it's cool little crew. Yeah. Yeah. Super Canadian vibe or Quebec, Quebec Canadian, because they're different, they got their own vibe, and I like it because it reminds me of Russians a little bit, but it's on its own vibe, definitely.
I loved learning from them.
Yeah. So before you hopped on, so it was more so that you went from gymnastics bodies to Ido stuff, and then you went to kind of Poliquin, because Ido was always a big promoter of Poliquin's things and stuff like that. Yeah. So did you ever work with Ido online doing some of his training?
I didn't get the chance to work with Ido directly. I never got to meet him because he was always in Europe. But I lived.
That's another story upon itself, right? Where, if people don't know, Ido would put on these workshops around the world, and he would never fucking go to them. he would go to select ones that he liked, right? Like, because I remember I also went to a few, and you're thinking, okay, this is called the Ido Portal method, and hello, welcome guys. There's no Ido here today at all. He won't be coming, and yeah, I remember. I mean, I get the whole mystique of it or whatever. It's like it shouldn't matter, and I understand that. But I do remember talking to some people who they were like the first day I was just chatting with them, and one guy was like, "Man, I don't want to be here because Ido's not here," and I was just like, "That sucks, man." I mean, he just ruined the whole thing for him because the guy was like so disappointed that Ido was not there, and I just thought it was pretty funny.
it was hilarious because he never actually said whether he would be there or not. So like when you would sign up for the course, like they would have like the Facebook, event.
Yeah.
Everyone would always be like, "Will Ito actually be at this one? Will he actually be at this one?"
They would never answer you, would they? No.
I'm like, never there.
Yeah, yeah. So Ito's, philosophy is kind of, do you think it stands upon its own kind of thing? Because you haven't really heard. I mean, you can define it however you want, but you definitely didn't hear a lot of people talking about movement in general kind of thing before him, I feel like. So I do feel like he was, the guy that kind of brought that word, which now is probably overused. It's sort of like,
Yeah, yeah. I feel like the word is a bit loaded.
Yeah.
So just talking to one of our friends, he runs a movement gym,
Uh-huh.
and I'm sorry, that was okay. Cool. I thought I lost you.
Yeah, yeah.
He runs
Froze
a
up for a little
movement
bit.
gym.
Uh-huh.
Oh, cool. Yeah, he's awesome because he's like, if you like movement, do it. I like people like to come to my gym and do movement. It's awesome. I love that they love it, and I'm like, I love it. It's a healthy mindset where it's just like, hey, if you like this, come do it. If you
Right.
don't like it, go do something else.
Right.
And I think that's so positive compared to like, the whole like the idea of like you have to move 8 hours a day, and if you don't, then you will be a Homer Simpson and die.
You are a shitty mover. Yeah.
You are weak.
Yeah, and so so his trading philosophy is sort of he would make. I mean, and I've worked not with him directly, but I've done one of those online trainings that they would offer. Yeah, it's just a lot of training all day and I did it for however long was the block. I don't remember. Maybe it was 6 weeks. And at the end of it, I just got a terrible cold and I felt sick and I was like, fuck, I don't want to work out for a while, It just, I think it's, yeah, and it's tough for the average person.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. I mean, especially if you got like, like a job to work with, you got a spouse, you got kids, you got other responsibilities. It's a lot of work. I mean, back when we were involved in it, we didn't do the coaching, but we did like a lot of what they were saying. And like honestly, I think getting banned from the movement culture was probably one of the best things that happened to us. Because had we not, we might still be like sitting there training like 8 hours a day.
So man, you knocked off. You got Poliquin to make fun of you, and you got banned from Ito's movement culture. So I want to hear that story.
On the movement culture one?
Yeah, how did that happen that you got banned?
Oh, this is funny. So we we were real big into it. We were huge supporters. I mean, like we went to one of the seminars in Canada, right?
Okay.
And this is back when we basically had no money. So we go on Amtrak, which is like the longest trip we have ever taken to anywhere, all the way to Canada. We have like no food, so we stay at a hotel, like in the middle of like Cornwall, Canada, and they have like an all-you-can-eat dinner, and we both like eat off the same plate because we get two people.
Real movers, you guys are real movers, connected.
We were broke. We had to sleep in a train. In a train station at one point, and got kicked out. And had to sleep in a donut shop one night because we couldn't afford a hotel for all the nights there.
Wow. And Ito's sorry to interrupt you. Ito's seminars, they weren't cheap, man.
No, they weren't. No,
they weren't cheap.
It was really expensive. So we did all that, and after doing all that and everything, being really tight into the movement culture, at one point we decided to make our own coaching, which I think that was one of the problems. And two, I was writing a post. It was a joke. It was a post about gurus. And the funny thing is, it wasn't even about Ito. It was about another guru, which is ironic. But I think he read that and then banned us because I wrote it in the morning and it had funny jokes in it. Like, no, if you want to become a guru, then like you got to say funny things like, never walk a mile until you never talk about somebody until you walk a mile in their shoes. That when you're a mile away and you have their shoes, blah blah blah, stuff like that. But we come home and we're like, hey, on Facebook, one of the groups is gone. The movement culture group. We're not in it anymore. What happened?
Oh no!
And then we're like, we got banned.
Oh no.
And then we figure out like we talked to some other people and they're like, "Oh yeah, you got banned finally, dude. Like you had it coming. Like everyone's gotten banned."
Oh man, it's a tight. They want to keep it a tight knit group, I guess, huh?
It's definitely like a real tight inner circle where it's like no, you can be excommunicated and never get back in really quickly.
So you've done several of those seminars with him, yeah, or with
We
his
did
group.
two, we did two,
Hmm.
and then at one point I lived in the same like the next city over
Hmm.
from one of the main teachers.
Hmm.
So like, it was awesome because I got to go over there and I paid him like $40 an hour. That's all he asked for. And
Oh
he just
wow.
basically taught me everything.
Okay.
And
Okay. So to
I'm
be
pretty
fair,
sure
you do feel like you pulled out a lot of information out of that.
I did
Mhm.
not probably information that I use anymore, but it's like I got to experience it, so that's kind of cool, I guess. There's a lot of time
So
that
it's
was
more sort of like juggling two balls on the floor kind of stuff, yeah.
yeah, basically. Back when I was getting into it, it was a little bit more like the movement arts
Hmm.
for the thing. Now it seems to be kind of like let's reverse engineer it. It's like no, it's not good enough to go to a boxing coach. You gotta do these movement games that we made up to get good at movement. It's like okay, a while ago you were just preaching that it was okay to like just go to a rock climbing place and go to a boxing place and go to a dance place. Now it's like you have to come to the movement camp, and only here can we unlock the secrets to
Yeah.
using balls.
Yeah, I was at one of the seminars and they were trying, somebody was curious about the notorious chin to toe touch. Is
Oh
that what it
yes,
is? Or is it forehead? I don't remember.
it's head to toe and chin to toe. Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the teachers said, "Okay, you got to do the prerequisite," and it was like, you got to do the horse stance. You got to be able to do like a handstand. You got to be able to like take your dick out or something. I mean, it was just like it was just the randomest things, that it's like just fucking tell me what you guys do, because you know that there are people out there that they've never did any of those prerequisites and they probably got that skill. There's some guy
Yeah.
in China, some little kid that just like, just started doing it and working on it. And
My,
yeah.
my wife was like that. She was like, "Oh, I'll get it." I was like, "I kind of want to get a picture of the head to toe stretch, but I couldn't get it myself."
Uh-huh.
And she was like, "Oh, don't worry, I'll get it." So then she goes and works on it for like half an hour,
Uh-huh.
and then comes back half an hour later, and she's like, "I got it."
No shit.
Yeah, yeah. And it's just like,
And what's
oh,
Martina's background? Did she get into things the same way as through martial arts?
so Martina started off as a professional couch potato. She could not even touch her toes when I first met her, or do a push up, or like hang or anything.
Uh-huh.
And then, like when we got together, she started training and doing stuff like that. And then she took it way, way further and got a lot stronger, a lot more flexible, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah,
Um,
that's a pretty big like turnaround there. Wow. So she wasn't really into sports before she met you, huh?
she did like some tennis, so she enjoyed that somewhat. She did like some swimming, but she wasn't like super active. Like when tennis season ended, she was like, "Great, there's a couch, time to watch some TV and eat some potato chips." Like an entire bag of it at one time. Like she was not very active at all.
Wow, cool, man. That's because you see clips of you guys doing stuff, and it's like you'd think she was always into doing all those sort of things.
No, no, just like no tennis, swimming at one point. That's about it.
And so how close did you follow the diet recommendations and all the supplement recommendations sort of in that time period of Ito and Charles Poliquin?
Oh, like way too well. So okay, so like when Ito started talking about the low carb dieting,
Yeah.
like I got on that, and I am pretty sure I screwed myself over way big because like I was training a lot. I got on low carb, and once I started low carbing, like my sleep just went to absolute crap. So like, I would be up for hours at night, hours and hours and hours, and I never put two and two together. Like on my the days where I would eat my carbs, my refeeds, I was like, oh my goodness, I slept so well. That's amazing.
Well, it takes time, right? That's why, yeah, it's tough. These things, there's so many variables too. Sometimes you don't notice the most simple thing, right?
And it's like right there in front of you. I would have like the most amazing sleep. I would have like the most amazing, like, no, like feeling great. I mean, I should have known it too, especially on those days, like, the sex drive was just like,
yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
I should notice. I'm like, I'm like, that might be a good sign. So I did that. I did the supplement protocols. Like Charles had one that was like 45 grams of fish oil a day, I believe.
Oh yeah, it was 60. Yeah, it was 60, and I've done it, and I've talked about it on previous podcasts of mine. Yeah, man, and I said that I did it, and I was farting and burping and fucking tasted like fish all the time. So yeah, I really don't know who in the fucking world actually has done it and felt great and got all those benefits that they talk about.
I have no idea. I mean, the only way I could see that is if you were just like, if you used to be guzzling down trans fat, and now you're just guzzling down so many fish oils that you can't go down trans fat anymore. I have no idea. I felt like absolute crap. And then it's like, oh man, like when you're taking that protocol, you can't laugh. If you laugh, you might like crap yourself. You know what I mean?
Exactly. So how long were you low carb for? Like, did you do? I mean, was it a year or something like that? More?
It was probably like over a year. Yeah, like. I don't even know what got me off it. I think I had some carbs, and I was like, "This is delicious." I'm done. I'm pretty sure I just gassed out. I don't fully remember though, but I'm pretty sure it was just me like being like, "Wow, carbs are really good. I'm done with low carb. Thank you." Yeah.
Isn't that weird? I don't know what it is. I've talked to other people about this. It's like we have this obsession with if something is easy and maybe tastes good or is like good for you. It can't be it. It has to be something where like, you got to put a fucking bag on your back and you got to carry it through the fucking jungle, and it's got to taste disgusting. And then you got to kill this fucking animal that you don't want to kill. And it's just, right? We have this weird obsession with like, you must suffer in order to reach what you want to attain, right?
Exactly. Like if you're not suffering, it's not working. Like that's the idea. I think it's like, so I was reading a book. It was about heuristics, right? Mm-hmm. And it's basically like the way that we answer hard questions. So it's like, if I ask you, how happy are you? It's kind of like a non-objective question. It's kind of very subjective, right? Mm-hmm. So a lot of times our brains will answer, apparently, according to this mechanism, it'll answer an easier question. So how happy are you gets turned into how happy are you right now? I'm very happy right now. So I'm going to answer happy. Very happy, yes. Mm-hmm. Well, I think that happens with people's eating too. It's like, oh, how effective is this diet? And it's like, how miserable am I?
Yeah. Well, I feel like shit. Can't sleep. Yeah, can't have sex. I think I'm doing great.
I must be great.
Yeah. And I don't know. Yeah, and I don't even know if that's only the fitness industry, but it's
everything.
Right? It's such a unique thing. I don't know if it's, some people have argued that it's, religious backgrounds, whatever, and you can kind of make that connection, but I don't know, man. It's a weird fucking thing, right? It's like the same thing with like, because I've been on there too where I've, given up all fruit, for example, thinking like...
Same here, yeah.
Right, like, well, fructose, Jesus, it wreaks havoc, upon your system, and you use big words like that, and it's like, oh my God, and, I've talked about it before also, where it's like, oh, it's as addictive as cocaine, and it's just like, oh my gosh, yeah.
I said the same thing, and then I'm like, wait, like, someone mentioned to me, they were like, no, Phil, when's the last time you've seen someone suck a dick for blueberry? And I'm like, because I can tell you when that happened with cocaine, but not with blueberries. It's like,
that's funny, man. That's good. That's gonna be my new thing now. I think I'm gonna try to convince people that way to eat some fucking fruit. Yeah.
It's like, no, blueberries won't kill you. They're okay.
Yeah, I definitely think it's, I don't even think it's, like I said, the fitness culture. I think it's just coming from maybe I don't know. It's like we're almost conditioned like that in life in general, right? If it's like you're not going to work and you're not waking up at 5:30 and you're not getting 14 coffees in you and you're not hating life and you're not taking, Adderall in order to get through your day and you're not taking fucking Ambien in order to sleep and then maybe hitting like some vape pen at the end of the, it's like you're not being productive in life.
Yeah. Oh, I absolutely, dude. It's like the I think part of it, like that whole like kind of Gary Vaynerchuk or like David Goggins culture where it's like, if you ain't working, then the other person out there is outworking you, and it's like you gotta hustle hard.
Yeah, and there's something to that, of course, because it's like, well, you guys hustled, and we get it. You came from nothing to something, but how many people do you know that came from like something to something more, right? Where it's like, why do you have to? I mean, because I think that they themselves, like guys like Gary Vee, because I'm glad you brought it up, because I have the same thoughts about him, and it's like maybe I think other people and even themselves, they don't realize that. I think they really just enjoy that hustle, that grind, because how about, I mean, I think that's more like cocaine than eating some fruit. You know what I'm saying? Because they're just on this pattern of like grind, win, grind, win, and they're digging it, and that's great, and like that's why you should do whatever the fuck you want to do, but not everybody enjoys that fucking grind. It wears some people out, and it just makes them tired and makes them feel like shit, makes them depressed. Yeah, man.
I had a friend do the same thing to me. His name is Eric. The dude's like my big brother, and he called me out on that one time. He was like, "Philip, man, like sometimes you talk about everything being games. You should probably consider that some things for you are just fun, and that's okay." And I was like, "Holy crap, I can have fun."
I didn't know.
I'm allowed to have fun?
Yeah, man. It's interesting.
I can see it though. It's like, you get that hit of like, oh, I success. I got to get more of it. I'm going to work hard to get more, and another hit of that success kind of stuff.
Yeah, man.
It's bad.
Yeah. So to go back to diet and all that. So what was that when you got banned from movement culture? Was that sort of your light bulb moment to start kind of exploring other things, or?
Yeah, it was kind of like, oh, well, I mean, before we kind of like, kind of liked Ito a lot, even though we disagreed with some of what he said, we still liked him. When we got banned, we were like, oh, great, well, we can just like go ahead and say whatever we were trying to say at this point without like, trying to work around anybody's feelings. So we started thinking about the way we were coaching, because we were running our own coaching at that time. And basically, we tweaked it over the years. At first, it started off, it was very similar to Ito's, where it was like movement based and like, body weight strength based. And we had people training like 6 days a week. Yeah. And it worked its way down lower and lower and lower and lower and lower to like what we do now, where we have people training like 1 to 2 times a week using accommodating resistance, like our big 5 exercises, and basically trying to train, as we say, smarter, not harder.
Yeah, which I like that concept a lot.
Thank you.
And so the big 5, what are the big 5 exercises that you guys narrowed it down to?
So it was a squat, planche push-up, one-arm chin-up, front lever row, and handstand push-up. And the progressions too, though. So you don't have to do like a full planche push-up today. Right. It's progressions to the full planche push-up.
So each exercise, you're saying that each exercise you have a different way of doing it, so that it's accommodate to each person that can handle absolutely. Whatever load. And so, and is that just narrowed it down to from years of training yourself and just working with other clients? You just narrowed it down to those 5 because you see that those transfer over the most to other things that you're doing in the gym.
Yeah. So like it started off like we kind of you remember back when the genetic bodies like thing came out, or lesson strength training, and there was a lot of static exercises, and I always felt like my static holds were so fickle. Like one day I would crush it. I'd have like a 10-minute straddle planche, and it's like, whoa, I feel amazing. Next day it turned down to like 1 second.
Yeah. I'm done.
Yeah, it's like, wow, this isn't cool. So like we started using dynamic exercises. Like, oh, okay, some people are having trouble getting this tuck planche, to start off. Let's have this movement called the pike pull through, which we kind of ended up making up. And we were like, oh, hey, people are getting their tuck planches in like no time at all. That's so weird. okay.
Yeah.
And we did the same thing with the front lever, and it's like, well, people were having trouble getting a tuck front lever, trying to use bands and all sorts of other tools and stuff.
Yeah.
And we started using that, and like we started noticing people were getting it in like a couple weeks. They were like, hey, I got my first tuck front lever. That's awesome. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my, we're onto something here.
Which,
and so what?
Which you guys, I say, refer to cleverly on your Instagram, like free gains, right? Which just means you just got something that you didn't even work on.
We didn't even work on it. It's like, wow, our statics are getting better, and we're not working on statics. That's so awesome. So that kind of led to like us figuring out the whole free gains concept. Like some of these movements let you make gains in other movements that you're not working on, and I'm like, that's kind of cool, especially if you have limited time.
Yeah.
And then that kind of like we kind of use that with the Big Five to see like what we get a wide range of gains in with the minimal time, and that's where that came out.
Yeah, because it's interesting, because I've noticed this myself too. For example, I never was a big deadlifter. I never really enjoyed the movement at all. I mean, I can do it. I did kettlebells a lot. Sort of the Russian, I don't know if you've seen like Russian sports style stuff, where you're counting the reps for 10 minutes. So I was in that world for a while. But I've always squatted really deep too. I just makes sense to me. It's like, why wouldn't you want to squat all the way down? Which that's a whole thing we can talk about. But and then whenever I would try to pull a heavy deadlift off the floor, I mean, it's not world record, it's not amazing, but I always could pull pretty heavy weights. I could always keep up with the guys that are they're working on their deadlift 4 or 5 times a week or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I just, that was for me how I noticed. I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I did do a lot of pulling, a pull-up, stuff like that. I was always doing those. Yeah. And deadlifts always just came easy to me. So I think it's really smart to narrow it down to a few movements instead of doing 100 different variations.
I had the exact same story. Like I was when I first got into bodyweight strength, I was scared of working my legs with weights because if I worked on legs with my weights, I knew that my legs would blow up to like a massive size and I'd never be able to plant. So that's a fact right there. So I only worked on bodyweight legs and
meaning like doing pistols and stuff like that, eh?
Yeah, and like Nordic leg curls and stuff like that. And I did that for a year. I ended up being able to bench press more like a squat, by the way. It was really embarrassing.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
Wow, that's interesting.
It was crazy. But when I went to pull a deadlift for the first time, like a guy was like, hey, you should try deadlifting just to try it out one time. I'm like, okay, fine. But if I blow up and I can't do a planche, it's your fault. And I did it. And I hit double body weight. And I was just like, oh, that wasn't so hard.
Yeah.
And he was like, that looked easy. You could probably do more. And I'm like, whatever. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So that's when I kind of fell out too. It's like, oh, there's free games kind of exist. Deadlift, I didn't have to work on it. Just got it for free.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you think are maybe some of the most overrated exercises then? That probably, like you said, that maybe if you work on one but not this one, you don't need to do it. Why do it? What do you think is one of the most?
I usually have it like in my pocket, pull out a scroll of like exercises.
The Bible.
It's like, okay, let's see. I got one. I think one is the dips. And I'm not saying that dips are bad. I think dips are awesome. Like if you were going to go to prison and wanted just to be strong, sure, get your dips on. So when you go into the shower,
you got a guy to hang on you. Let's do this shit. Yeah.
It's gonna be good, but I think it's a bit overrated in the sense that like you don't need to do dips to get strong at dips. If you do handstand push-ups and planche push-up progressions, your dips are probably going to get stronger. So like I can dip, I think like 85% of my body weight, never work on it.
That's a lot.
On the flip side, though, thank you. On the flip side, though, I don't think working on your dip is going to give you like a full planche push-up or like continually get there. You know what I mean?
Right.
I think that transfers a bit one way.
Yeah. So there's certain things that it's like it'll carry over that way, but not the other way, right? That's
one of them. I think another one would definitely be like the core work, just in general. People spend a lot of time working on core, and it almost makes sense because it's like, oh my gosh, like the guy's in a front lever, his core must be working really hard. It's like,
right.
It's like
front lever. I don't know. I think it's just people that never fucking worked
Right.
out in their life.
Yeah.
It's so weird. For some reason, everybody that, you know, when I do one or something, you see somebody doing one and you talk, people always think that it's your core. It's like 99.99999, like fucking your back, you know, it's your lats, right? It's especially if you're doing it, you know, right, with the elbow locked out and all that, and you're fancy, you know, you got your dick out too. You're yeah.
Exactly. Like if you have any bit of pike, right? You're piking because your core is too weak. And it's like, no, it's probably just your back, and you're trying to look for the easier way to get this done.
Right. That's
So, sorry?
no, what you gonna say?
I would say I think core work is probably number 2.
Yeah.
And this is probably going to be like almost like blasphemous for a lot of people, but I would probably say the deadlift might be number 3. Like I think.
Get the fuck! I'm done with this podcast. I'm gonna go home now. Wait, I am home. Anyway.
Right now.
Yeah, deadlift. That's exactly. It's funny, you know, because again, I've rarely worked on it, and I've always had a fine deadlift. Again, I'm not gonna go to West Side, you know, in Ohio, and be one of those guys.
No.
But then again, why the fuck do I need to, you know? So, yeah, I think if you're just... but you do work on heavy barbell squats.
Yeah. So, not anymore. I used to, back when I had a gym.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man.
Yeah. I totally love the heavy barbell. Like, so it's not like I'm not working legs at all. Like, I'm doing heavy barbell squats. But back in the past, now I have a 150-pound weight vest. Shout out to the delivery guy who brought that to my house. I have no idea how he did it. Great.
150 pounds, goddamn, man.
Yeah, he bought the whole thing. Like I'm like, how did you move that? It just showed up.
That's funny.
But I use that, and Martina pushes me down, so like it's really heavy. Like when I first tried to put it on, I put it on, and then I tried to stand up off the ground, and I was like, uh-oh.
So do you think there is a way to work your legs then without, like, you know, we all don't have gyms right now, basically. Is there a way to work the legs without barbells or dumbbells, I guess?
Absolutely. Like, nowadays, I actually prefer so what we do, I put on this, like, heavy weight vest. It's like 150 pounds, so it's like 90% of my body weight. And Martina actually stands on, like, a step stool behind me. And she puts her hands on my shoulders, and she pushes me down as I do a singlet squat, and I have like 2 bar stools next to my hands to like help keep myself from like falling side to side. And I basically use as much weight as possible as I go down and up, and my hands are spotting me.
Okay.
And like I tested it, and my back squat actually went up from doing those heavy single leg squats. And that's all I was doing at the time. So it was awesome.
Yeah. So basically, you're doing like a very heavy pistol with some support, so you're not falling over. And so when you do these tests, because you guys do this on your Instagram too, like you say, you know, we've tested it. How long? How do you guys usually do that? Do you take 2 weeks off of a movement, or you know, and supplement another movement and see how it carries over?
Yeah. Typically, we'll test a movement. We'll be like, okay, what's the baseline here? And then for 6 to 8 weeks, we'll do something like, you know, something else. And then we'll see if that movement improves. So with the squat, for example, I actually wanted to give it a little bit longer because I've been squatting for a long time. So I wanted to give it time, like any gains I had from the squat directly, I wanted them to decay. So I think that was a couple months where I didn't squat again. I think it was like 3 months we ran that test.
Wow. Okay, that's long enough to figure that out, I think.
It was a long while, and when I came back to it, I was like, oh, hey, like, I hit a new PB, like a personal best, and I was like, oh, okay. So, now I actually don't back squat. I just use the heavy single squat method, and it works nicely.
Okay, so that's the way to go. And then, you know, the other big notorious is the one-arm chin. You know, a lot of people. Yeah. So how do you get people to doing one-arm chins? I mean, what's the way do you go about it?
I love that one. So, like, we start off getting, like, I mean, of course, people need to have chin-ups first. So if you don't have that, you got to get your. Do you
have a standard, sir? That 5.5 or
5.35 actually.
Oh, okay. Shit.
So you're overshooting now. You know. I don't really have a standard. Like if you have like probably 5 reps, I'll start having you work on the one arm chin up. And obviously, if you can only do one chin up, I won't have to start working on one arm chin up work. But like if I see like no, sure, maybe 5 easy reps, we can start working on it. But basically, what I do is I have people start off with what's called a mixed grip chin up. So one arm is grabbing the ring with the supinated grip, and the other one's grabbing with the pronated.
So like a switch grip kind of looking thing, yeah.
Exactly. So you've got both the hands going the wrong, like mixed grip, like almost like you're deadlifting. But
Yeah,
with the mixed
yeah.
grip there. The supinated hand basically starts pulling, and the pronated hand helps only as needed to get you to the top of the movement. Once you're there, you shift even more weight onto the pronated hand, and you lower down real slow until gravity basically pulls you down to the bottom of the rep,
Okay.
and then you do the other side. And then you probably like cry a little bit and contemplate. And that's like one of the methods I use, as well as assisted one-arm chin-ups, which is basically the same thing, but instead of holding the rings, you just hold like one hand on the ring and one hand on a strap. And it's just a little harder to spot that one, so it's a little more easy to not help yourself.
Okay, because in a certain culture, there's a way of working on one-arm chins, sort of where you take a strap and you throw it over the pull-up bar, right? You put a weight on it, and you use that weight as your leverage kind of point to pull yourself up on the chin up. Do you think that's a useful way of doing it?
I've never really liked that method, so like I always just seemed a little weird. I tried it one time, and I could do like I think at the time like 2 one-arm chin-ups, but then I put like 5.5 pounds, and I tried that method, and I was able to do like 11 reps in a row.
Wow.
Like just bam. And I was like, there's a really big difference with just 5.5 pounds from me being able to do like 2 chin-ups, one-arm chins in a row, to now like 11, and I'm not even tired yet. I'm just like bored. Like something weird with that. I never really liked it. I was like, I don't feel like the number on the weight is a good representation of like what's actually happening. I just found it weird. Then later I thought about it, and I was like, well, objectively, the problem I have with it now is like I can't really use accommodating resistance with the counterweight method compared to the one where the mixed chin up. I can make sure that when people go up, they're using as tiny resistance as possible. When they go down, they use even less assistance. Like it's really maximal the entire rep. The counterweight method doesn't really do that.
So you're saying that there's other ways of doing things, huh? You fucking asshole.
No. I don't. That kind of stuff gets you banned from places. Okay, I don't.
You son of a bitch. There is the way, and there is not the way. Okay, and you're not the way, sir.
It's all the things there. Yeah, we don't talk about anything besides the method. Or Fight Club.
Oh, don't ever talk about Fight Club.
But we'll Fight Club.
So just from years of training, basically you evolved down to what seems to me like mostly upper body stuff is body weight stuff, right? Or, where you're, right, it's pretty much what you're using. You're not a big fan of doing bicep curls or, shoulder presses or whatever, stuff like that.
Not anymore, yeah. I used to do that stuff back in the day, but nowadays it's just like, no, I don't even bother with it.
And that's just because you think that, again, if you're doing the other big 5 exercises, it's just all those other things are going to be basically easy.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to see 3 gains happen, and look, check your bicep curl. Okay, great. Do a couple weeks of the big 5. Check your bicep curl again. You're going to notice the bicep curl is bigger. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or and especially with the accommodating resistance method that we use, where the entire rep is maximally difficult, like you're going to have trash biceps at the end of the workout from the one-arm chin-up work, so you'll be fine.
Yeah, it's that would be pretty fucking scary to go from one-arm chins to like preacher curls, I mean, that thing can snap, man. And was it you that posted? I think you guys posted years ago like a YouTube video of bicep curls snapping on preacher curls, right?
Oh,
biceps
yes,
snapping on preachers. I think that was you guys. No, this was years ago.
That might have been.
That's a rough.
That might have been. I posted some nasty bicep curl. Bicep snaps in general. I can't keep track of all of them. I find them. I'm like, oh, ill. I collect them almost.
Or when people deadlift and they snap. I mean, but that can't be just. There's something. I'm like, what have they been doing to their bodies? I mean, it's just fucking crazy. Or what kind of things they've been taking. You know.
I think those are two big issues. One is like the overtraining for sure. Like I
Hmm.
think a lot of people get injured and they're like, "Oh, this movement injured me." It's like, dude, how are you training? And they're like, "Oh, easy. I did 10 sets of 10, like, 5 days a week. And then on my rest days, I got tired, so I did another 10 sets of 10, just, the pump set." It's like, okay, well, have you considered that maybe you got injured because of overtraining? They're like, "No, I wasn't overtraining." and I'm just like, okay.
Oh man. So I mean, how much do you think like an average person that, let's say, wants to get in shape and wants to do some of the cool stuff,
Mhm.
how many times a week do you think they should be training really, if they
I,
have
I
a
think
normal
most
life? Hmm.
I think most people can get away with probably like 1 to 2 times a week of like hard training. Like so with running it with our trainees, that's what we find most people can tolerate and survive in the long run. Like we definitely toned it down. Like at one point I had people training like closer to 3 times a week, like 2 times plus one deload session.
Hmm.
And the people were like, yeah, my elbows are starting not to feel good, or like, no, knees just aren't feeling it. And I'm
Hmm.
like, let's go down to like 1 to 2. And then everyone's like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better. I think this is it. And I was like, oh crap, wow.
Yeah.
Like it was amazing how people started feeling better and better and better as we kept dropping the frequency.
Hmm.
So I think for most people, if you train hard, it's probably going to be like 1 to 2 times a week.
Hmm.
If you're doing air squats, you can do it every day.
Yeah. And so you
Yeah.
mean, but that would be training each pattern or each movement, or you mean like lower body, upper body once or twice a week, or what do you mean by that exactly?
I would mean like each movement
Okay.
itself. So like you could do like upper body on Monday,
Hmm.
take Tuesday off, and then on Wednesday you could do lower body, and then you could take 3 more days off, and then on Saturday, I think Saturday you could
Hmm.
hit like upper body again maybe and see if you feel better, good enough to work out then. If not, maybe next time try it on Sunday, that kind of thing.
Okay. And so do you still split up your sessions like sort of I don't remember all the fancy lingo with Charles Poliquin, but the antagonist, that's sort of, where you're doing pushing and you're doing pulling, supersetting like that. And when you're doing, if you're doing squats, you're doing hamstring curls with that.
Yeah, yeah. So like for upper body, I'll pair up like a push and a pull. So they'll do like planche push up progression, one arm chin up progression, back and forth, etc. And then the same thing with the handstand push up and the front lever row, like to go back and forth between the two of those. Or like
Yeah.
if you're doing full body because you want to get the workout done like even faster, not have to do it again. Like this is what I personally do. I do like single leg squat,
Hmm.
and then I go right to the planche push up, then to the one arm chin, and then I just take as much rest as I need to. Then I repeat the whole cycle again.
So you're
So
training full body basically there.
yeah,
So you do it like
it's a
that too.
tricep.
Okay.
Yep. So that saves you more time if you kind of lazy like me and don't really want to think about working out for a while.
So these days, yeah. So these days you're pretty much working out once or twice a week, huh?
Yeah, basically.
That's
I do a sprint on the other day. That's it.
Every other day.
I do sprints on the other day. So like I strength train like one day, then I take 3 days off usually. Then I do sprints the other day, and then I take 3 days off. Then I'm back to strength, and that works pretty well.
And so why sprints? Why not, 25 miles running slowly?
Well,
I feel like you're not torturing yourself enough with the sprints. I feel like you got to suffer more.
I would, but the problem is I can't count that high. And that's my main thing. I get like when I run out of fingers and toes to count on, it's just a wrap.
I'm good.
It's like okay, don't have anything else to count on.
I'm good. So why sprinting though?
I'm just a really big fan of it. Like you can get your heart rate up really, really nicely with that.
Mm-hmm.
But, like I tried using jump rope at one time, and I was like, this is not working. Like I cannot jump fast enough to get the
Yeah.
heart rate up. Sprinting
Okay.
works really easily. Like you can hit the highest heart rate you can so quickly. I tried like shadow boxing, just didn't feel as good. So like I just use sprinting. But if you can do something else at that speed, like swimming, no, I can't swim that well, but swimming or biking or whatever, I would include that too. I'm just saying like I use it personally because it's easy.
Okay. Because there's always that the debate of low intensity versus high intensity cardio. I mean, do you think something like a low intensity run, a couple times a week, is it necessary? Again, of course, we're talking about like if you enjoy it, like you say, right?
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you want to do it because you enjoy it, I mean, hey, hats off to you, do your thing. But do you
Yes,
think it's
yeah.
really necessary? I mean, do sprints cover that sort of work?
So what we tend to do is like on the off days, we usually just like, we'll go for a walk, but it's really slow. We're talking the whole time.
Hmm.
And our neighborhood has some hills, so it's like, there's a little bit of that. Like, you might be going up the hill, it's kind of that. Or you want to do some hiking or something like that. But it's
Hmm.
just really, really, really light activity on off days and at the point where we can talk. So we do like, if we were to say that low intensity cardio, it would be probably that stuff. And
Hmm.
it's very, 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 very low intensity.
Hmm.
Like, not like gym bro low intensity where it's like, I'm doing low intensity and it's like actually a sprint.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and you got your YouTube and you got an iPad in front of you with a giant fucking screen of YouTube. Man, I
Yeah.
hate those things. That just annoys the shit out of me.
It's like, okay, it's like you're actually training. You're not actually like low intensity. You're
It's
training.
so weird, man. It's so weird. Where people, drive to the gym to go walk on a treadmill or something like that and watch
Yeah.
movies. Just go outside, people.
Go outside, yeah.
Jesus
Go outside.
fucking Christ.
It's like-
Just go outside.
I think that's also one of the better parts of it. So like, if you're doing it outdoors, I think you also get some of the benefits of like your circadian rhythm also being improved.
Of
You
course.
got sunlight hitting you. You got like your body getting told that it's daytime, basically.
Mhm.
But that's so I think it's also got some health benefits in terms of doing it outside if you can.
Yeah, and even grounding, you're letting go of those negative ions, as they say, and all that. So I think it's just again, it's comes down to that same thing where it's like we've all been kind of taught where it's like if you're not in the gym, not suffering, you're doing it wrong, man.
Oh, I mean, I've seen that, and then there's of course there's the mindset that goes with that, where it's like if I didn't do it in the gym,
Mhm.
it doesn't count as training. So it's like I'm not overtraining. I only train one time a week, and I'm like, okay, do you do anything else? And it's like, well, yeah, man, like. Every night I go to the underground fight club and I like kill somebody. It's like, okay, that counts.
And I post
As
about it on
training.
Instagram, so then it really counts because if you don't post about it on Instagram, you didn't fucking train. You're a liar.
But yeah,
If you didn't check
if you
in.
didn't in the gym, then it didn't count. If you didn't post on Instagram, it doesn't count. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. So how long would a typical mindful mover kind of client session would be? You think like average workout was it like 30 minutes, hour?
Yeah, like somewhere between 30 minutes to an hour. Depends on how long you. So I'm a really big fan of rest pause training.
Mm-hmm. Could you explain
so,
that a little bit?
Yeah, of course, yeah. So like, let's say you're doing a set of 5 reps. You might like a normal set might be like 1 rep, 2 rep, 3 rep, 4 rep, 5 rep. What I like to do is like have them do like 5 reps, but what they'll do instead is do 1 rep, then I take a short rest.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't have to be short, so I'll explain in a second. But then 2 reps, then rest. 3 reps, rest. 4 rest, 5. Now the set's done. Now you take a really, really, really big rest.
Mm-hmm.
So that's called a rest pause training or cluster training. I learned about it from Charles, and it's awesome. But like, what I oftentimes do nowadays is like I'm cluster training, but then I'm actually working in between reps. So like,
Right.
I'll like, I'll do a rep, then I'll come over and I'll start writing a post. Or like sometimes if you look at my IG stories on certain days,
Mm-hmm.
you'll look at it and you'll be like, why is that guy like sweating and like out of breath? And I'm like, we're gonna talk about it's like on those days what I'm doing typically is I'm in between my reps, I'm doing IG stories and stuff. So like
Yeah.
the workout can be really quick if you wanted to, but it can also be like kind of so long
Yeah.
that you're getting other stuff done anyway. So it's the same thing.
So you're being productive and enjoying yourself,
Yeah, absolutely.
which is totally wrong. You should never do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Like, enjoying yourself is bad. That's a bad thing to do. Don't have fun.
Oh man, the old Charles Poliquin. So what? Do you know what? Rest in peace, of course. I mean,
I know.
Fuck, man.
He passed so early.
Really early. I don't know.
57.
Yeah, it was honestly I was shocked. It was kind of crazy to me.
Yeah.
But
Me too, sure.
it is what it is.
Yeah.
How about supplements? Do you guys do any supplements these days? How has that evolved?
So our supplementation is like real minimal. Like, before if you came to my house, like I could give like, a GNC a run for its money. Like for people listening, GNC is basically like a pharmacy or a supplement store.
Yeah.
But I could have given them a run for their money back in the day. But nowadays it's real minimal. Like for the most part, most of my supplementation is like organ pills.
Uh-huh.
So like I've got like liver, I've got like adrenals, I've got lungs, I've got you know, like testicles, like basically like I got all these different organ pills, and I usually take those. Those are my supplementation.
And where do you get those?
I have come again.
Where do you get those? You guys got a specific spot you got?
It's called Ancestral. That's one of the companies that we use.
Ancestral Health, I think, right? Something like that.
I think it's something like that. Yeah. If you look up Ancestral, it's got a really cool logo. And then the other one's Dr. Ron's. We use that company as well.
Okay.
And that's the majority of the stuff we use. It's just mostly organ pills. Then we use a couple other things like vitamin C. Like I use that. I even take it after training, which apparently is like a giant no-no, and I'm like, whatever.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Iodine, and I think there's like once a week take zinc. That's it.
But I mean, if you had to let go of all your, so if you had to choose one maybe or a couple things, I mean, if you had to drop all of your capsules out the window today, I mean, what would you keep? Or do you think what would you take? That was like the most. Do you think is really works beneficial? I mean, would it be vitamin C? Would it be the organ pills?
I think I keep the organ pills mostly because it's like if you're getting the organs, you're probably getting a lot of nutrients already. So we favor like organ meat like most days. Like Martina does all the cooking, but she makes like kidney, tripe, liver, heart, like all these different organs. We eat a lot of different kinds of the parts that people oftentimes are like, ew. I'm like,
yeah. Oh yeah, I buy beef liver for $4 or something like that, like a pound, and it's like so
good.
cheap, really good.
Yeah.
You got to learn how to cook it. Again, it's one of those things that I think is just in people's heads where they're so like, oh my god, it's just like, nah, it pretty much tastes the same. Do you guys get it shipped in, or you have like a butcher that you go to in town?
Oh no, we don't have one nearby. We have to like drive a while to get to it.
Oh wow!
But it's so worth it because they'll have like a giant freaking cow heart, and it's like $4. And I'm like, oh my gosh! Like,
so
but
cheap.
we have to drive pretty far to go there. There's two of them. There's another one nearby that's in the next state over. It's in Virginia. So we'll also drive all the way over there. It's not close, so it's definitely a trek.
So you go and get it yourself. You don't order it online.
Oh, we order online too. So there's that's one way. So there's two farms that aren't nearby. They're like really far away, but it's worth it to do it. And then there's two places that we like. One is called U.S. Wellness, and the other one's called White Oak Pastures.
Okay, yeah, I've heard both of those places. Yeah,
both of those are awesome.
Cool. And so, and you're saying most days you're favoring organ meats over muscle meats, huh?
Yeah, most days. Yeah, we try to eat.
And it's just because you're trying to get more nutrition. You think there's more nutrition. Not you think there is more nutrition in the organ meats.
Yeah, that and apparently it might be better for longevity in terms of one of the amino acids that causes aging. I don't know how.
Yeah, cysteine and methionine and tryptophan. Yeah, there's a few. That's sort of, I don't know if you ever read upon the in the Ray Peat world. You ever been on those things?
No, I haven't checked his workout much.
You can check out some of that stuff. He talks a lot about those sort of things.
Paul Jaminet did his book's called Perfect Health Diet.
Okay.
Yeah, he wrote the same thing where it's like, you favor organ meat when you can because it might help with the longevity there. So that's the reason why. That nutrients and possibly a long life.
Or at least get it in every once in a while. Yeah, people are just eating. I mean, most people really don't even eat beef because they're also brainwashed into thinking that's bad for you. So people are just eating fucking chicken breast every fucking day. I mean, let's be honest. It tastes like shit. Especially, I don't know if you guys shop at Trader Joe's out there. I used to love that place, but my God, over the years, I'm sorry, I can't eat anything out there. I hope Trader Joe's doesn't offer to sponsor this podcast one time, but God damn, dude, like you go there and the meat, and it's like, and it even has the organic on it. It has all the perfect, like grass-fed. And then I go home and I cook it, and it tastes like shit, man. I don't understand what is it about Trader Joe's. I don't know, how much you guys buy from there, but
we used to have one near us, and it moved. It was in a It was near my old house, and
Mm-hmm.
then one day just went up there and it was just like just gone. I'm just like,
Yeah.
well, that's weird. They got rid of that quick. But I totally agree. Like the food there was different. It's funny. We went to a Trader Joe's, a Wegmans,
Mm-hmm.
and a Whole Foods, and like tried all the different beefs there, and we were like, these beefs are actually different. Like
Yeah.
these beefs are way different. Yeah, they taste
Big time,
way
big time.
different.
And if
Yeah.
you look into it, a lot of those beefs is like a, half. It's like 50 different cows from different places. One cow was from New Zealand, another one was from Australia, which happens at Trader Joe's often. It's like New Zealand and Australia, and it's like, so you're saying you mix two different cows together, and then another thing, they have that diaper on the underneath those packed meats and stuff. You know why they have that diaper is because they put water inside a lot of those meats, so and it's weighed. Right, so you got to have a certain weight. So basically, they don't want you to see that there's water and blood coming out of that thing. So they put those little diapers underneath those little meats. Yeah, and it just always tastes like shit, man. So I can't. Yeah, like good meat is so hard to find, and I think part of the problem that people have with thinking that meat is bad, I think it's because people are eating just awful quality meat.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, that happened to us when we were in Canada. We remember we were absolutely broke, so we got like some like $1 steaks. You should know better if you buy a
$1.
It's like you're about to get screwed up.
Wow.
We tried it. We were like, oh my gosh, this meat tastes so weird. We stopped eating it.
Yeah.
Can't be right. That can't be right.
Say that last part again. Froze up for a second, Philip.
Oh yeah, I was saying like we ate like $1 meat. And we just like this meat cannot be right. Like we tasted it, it just didn't taste right. Something was wrong with it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
even like the fruits and stuff, it's just like people, and I
sorry.
love fruit. And what'd you say, brother?
I missed what you said. Can you go back?
I said even the fruit. It's like I love fruit,
Oh.
and again, I think people have this thing where like fruit's bad for you because people are buying again this fruit that's just it's not ripe. It tastes sour, and people don't know that. Hey, fruit is supposed to be sweet, actually, and it's actually that means it's good. Like. And you'll go to some of these stores, and it's just like the apples are like bland, and again, it's really sad. It's not me complaining; it's me just like talking about how bad the food supply is becoming to be, and it's just so hard to find just quality ingredients. I don't even want anything fancy; I just want regular stuff. I don't need
We had that. I had the same experience when I went to my cousin's country. She's from Bolivia, so I went to visit one time. We went there, and the food was so good, but the fruit, I was like, babe, in that tree, what's that? And she's like, oh, that's an orange. And I'm like, that looks like an orange I've never seen. Like the oranges here are perfectly rounded, perfectly formed. They're like you can play baseball with them.
Yeah.
And their oranges there look like this is like all shriveled up and whatever.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh yeah, that's the way they look here. Like they're not like altered to look weird. Like they look normal. That's the way they look. We tried one, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is the most amazing orange I have ever tried. It just tastes so. It looks hideous. It's hideous, but it tastes amazing.
Yeah, but it's weird. But then we have these perfect. I'm from Russia originally, so when I moved to U.S., it's. I remember seeing strawberries as big as my fucking head, and I was like, what the fuck is this? And I remember, but then they look beautiful, right? They look like that, commercial, and then you try it, and it's sour, and it tastes like shit, and you taste every seed in the strawberry, and it's like, my God, man. And to this day, actually, something about America and strawberries, they're so hard to find really good strawberries here. I don't know if you ever tried it. Next time you're in Bolivia, see if you can find some there, man.
My mom and I love strawberries, but same thing. It's really hard to find here compared to like other places. Going outside the country. We went to the Dominican Republic one time too. Same thing. It's like, oh my God, the food and the fruit was just so good.
Well, that's why a lot of vegans move down to places like Costa Rica and just South America because again, there's just the best fruits are grown there. That's where they're and all the best ones. They don't ship them here, do they? They ship us all the fucking green bananas from Ecuador, right? Those what do they call them? I forgot the name, but the brand. You know what I'm saying, right? And they're just oh man, it's kind of sad, It's
like, oh, these Wilson needs to be Americans, I guess.
Oh man,
Martina read. I don't know if you ever read Anthony Bourdain's book.
Yeah, I'm a big fan. Yeah.
he talks so much about what goes on, even here just in America, what goes on behind the scenes in restaurants.
Oh
And
yeah.
he's like never order fish on like Monday or something like that. And it's like, why? I think it was Monday. I don't remember, but it's just like,
One
oh
of those
yeah,
days.
that's been there for like
And just some
why?
even and yeah, and I've talked about this also before. It's like some of the cooking oils that they use back there, like you
Yeah,
don't know. It could be
no,
usually soybean oil, which is like
yeah,
so common. When you get a bottle, for example, of just vegetable oil, and it says
yeah.
vegetable oil, doesn't tell you what vegetable. That's usually just a giant bottle of soybean oil, which is like, do you really think you should be eating that? I mean, come on. But people
No,
are scared of the fruit, and,
yeah,
and
yeah.
sugar and just, normal stuff, really. Yeah, what
But
kind
butter will kill you, you know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Butter.
but not margarine. Margarine's fine.
Yeah. Don't go there.
Mm-hmm.
So, in the days of, back old school days of biosignature, I mean, Poliquin's way was sort of getting a person measuring body fat. There were certain spots where you measure body fat, right? And then you run it into a software, and then that software would tell you how many thousands of supplements you should take in order to lose fat. So, I mean, have you used that? Have you honestly tried it and used it and seen a difference? Or do you think at the end of it, because, the argument being with a lot of people that hate on Poliquin's stuff is like, a calorie is a calorie. You just got to diet down more and
Uh-huh.
it'll go away from those tough spots. There's really no, just because you're fat in your tummy doesn't mean you need to take anti-cortisol supplements and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah, so honestly, to this day, I still don't know. I'm like, maybe it does. It's so because it would be so hard to like make sure that someone's calories stay exactly the same,
Hmm.
and even if we eat the same amount, you're not doing the same amount of activity every day. Like even if you laid sedentary in bed, your body would probably be doing different amounts of like stuff on the inside. So it's like, how would we be able to test keeping someone's calories exactly the same?
Yeah.
And then having them take these supplements, and then testing where the fat gets lost, and
Hmm.
then making sure that the fat that gets lost is because of the supplement and not because of just like that's just where they lose fat. I don't know. So
Yeah.
like I did the $400 caliper, like the caliper $400 caliper in the massive like protocol test thingy. And it's like
You still have them? Just sell them.
I not just I tossed them.
You just, what do you mean, you just tossed them?
Yeah,
Really?
I'm not even confused. And then it's like, man, I kind of almost like would feel bad trying to like let somebody like you know what I mean? Because it's just like
No.
I'm not gonna use them. I think most people to learn how to do caliper testing
Hmm.
is just so like it'll take forever.
It takes
Like
forever. And I
yeah,
don't know if it's really that accurate. And at the end of the day, it's there's no, even the DEXA scans and all that shit. I
yeah,
mean, it's all just
yeah,
an equation that they kind of, try to do their best guess. And, with the calories thing, it's like, I mean, because they've done studies of people, people about laying in bed and thinking that they're working out or doing something that's, activity, and they're burning more calories. So it's like,
yeah, exactly.
yeah, it's these things are so so complex, and I don't know. So I don't know if, because I've also, wanted to take those sort of courses, but then just the amounts of supplements that people were on, it just really kind
Yeah.
of threw me off of it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and it's like we don't even know what all those supplements do in the long run.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I that's why I try to keep my supplementation really minimal because I'm worried about the risk of some of these things long term. Like, you want to find out like the way a smoker did back in like they're like, oh, smoking's bad for you. It's like, oh, too late. I've been smoking a pack a day for like, the past 10 days. I mean, sorry, the past 10 years.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
same supplements. It's like you don't want to find out that these supplements might have actually been causing like maybe they didn't make you feel good. But they also might have caused some damage in the long run and the wrong dosages.
Yeah,
You gotta
man.
be careful.
I mean, it's a great way of making money, though. If you tell them
It is.
you need to get your licorice root and all that kind of shit. Yeah, I've spent many wasted hours, researching a lot of these, like, black licorice root, and you apply it on your skin, and it just burns the fat away, and it's just like,
Yes.
I don't
That
know.
and many thousands of dollars too, just like all on supplement protocols. It's like, oh goodness.
Yeah, even to, again, rest in peace, all due respect to Charles, but it was like, taking the fish oil. At one point, he had a small group kind of people who took some of the seminars, and he was encouraging people to like share like, or if you're having just type a question in here and I'll answer it. And a lot of people were saying like, hey man, when I take fucking 30 grams of fish oil pills, I'm getting a lot of like you know, digestive discomfort, and I'm just getting a lot of fish burps. And he would tell you like, oh, you know, you got to do the, you know, the HCl test. And I did that fucking test. And my HCLs, and I eat meat regularly and organ meats, and I know my HCl is all right because I don't have problem digesting those sort of things. And I still get those goddamn fish burps, man.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it might just be the problem of taking 30 grams of fish oil a day. Like, that's just not a normal thing to do, probably. It's like to be eating 30 grams of just straight fish oil without the fish attached to it. Or like, I remember one story, this one guy, he was doing one of the detox protocols. And it's like, ooh, you gotta be careful with that, because, like, you know, apparently if you pull out some of these heavy metals from, like, some of your fat stores, like, it can go to your brain and, like, do some damage. And this guy, he ended up, like, having, like, he said, like, his face just, like, broke out on one of the days.
Oh, no.
And then he would, like, pop one of them, and it would just, like, fill back up, like, 30 minutes later, like, instantaneously, almost instantaneously. And it's just, like, oh my goodness, it's scary.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Yeah,
too much.
I don't know. I think I'm done. Hopefully that supplement craze. I don't know though. Do you think it's kind of died down a little bit since Charles passed, or do you think people are still taking all these, you know, fucking exotic, I don't know, berberine or whatever? You know, there's so many of them.
That I'm not sure, man. Like I can't say. I know I'm not really. I don't really read about that stuff anymore, but I still check some of these companies out, and they still have like all sorts of like really extravagant supplements, and it's like, what, like the ones that ones you can't even pronounce. Like, where do I find this in the wild? It's like, yeah, you don't. We have to like extract it from like the blessed like dolphins back in like, you know, the Atlantic Ocean.
Oh man, it's always like that. Yeah, from the scrotum of African lions. Yeah, it's just like, oh my fucking.
Achieved like an age of like 5 years, not 6, has to be 5, something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man.
So I don't really mess with the supplementation too much. So I'm not really involved in it, but I still see like new ones coming out all the time, and it's like, yeah, I'm not gonna take that. We'll see what happens in 30 years. I really hope it's okay and that people who are taking it are safe, but it's like, man, be careful with that.
It's probably gonna get a little more extreme or worse, because now people are going from that to sort of like the natural supplements like reishi and all these. Have you heard of the mushroom ones? And the thing with the mushroom ones is like, you got to check out where they're sourced, and even and where they're sourced is like always China, you know, and in some small town, you know, God knows what goes on there. Some Chinese kid probably got on the line and took a shit on top of it. I mean, really, you don't know, you know, even if it has the organic label. And it's just like, those are coming in big right now. The reishi, the chaga, all those sort of things.
You gotta be careful. It's like, how often did you get, like, you know, I don't know, like 50 grams of reishi mushrooms? Like, no, even if you ate a mushroom at that time, you'd eat like this much of a mushroom. Like, you know, you eat a couple of them, you wouldn't be eating like an entire plate full of mushrooms. Yet you can do with these supplement protocols, and it's like, you don't know, even if that food is good, you don't know what it might do to you taken in really unnatural amounts. I read a story about a woman. She was trying to control her diabetes using bok choy. She read that helps. So she was eating like, I think like a pound of it every day for 2 months, just raw bok choy. She ended up in a coma.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like, holy crap.
I can imagine.
Like,
because those cruciferous greens, they slow down your thyroid activity, and if you eat them raw like that, it'll tons. Yeah, people
you tons of it. Ounce.
Yeah, but I mean, how interested are you in the sort of the paleo perspective of food? Because, you know, since your diet has evolved, you know, a lot tremendously, like you're eating more carbs, you know, and I mean, how valid do you think it is to? I mean, you think it's important to look at things from like, what did the caveman eat, or is it more like what did, you know, healthy people eat maybe when food was available.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like we can't until we get our crystal balls working. We're never gonna know exactly what's optimal for like perfect human diet. Like maybe the perfect diet is like paleo on Monday, and then vegan on Tuesday, and then Mediterranean on Wednesday, then Atkins on Thursday. We'll never really know that.
Yeah.
So what I try to go on is basically like what has been tested for a long time.
Yeah.
So like, I mentioned cigarettes earlier. Like people at one time thought cigarettes were like a good, healthy thing to do. And if you smoked those every day and then found out 30 years later that they were actually possibly going to lead you to lung cancer, then too late. Game's already done. And the same thing with like butter versus margarine. It's like, oh, butter sucks. We need margarine. It's way better. Use that. And it's like, okay, great. I'm going to use that every single day because they say it's healthy. And then 10 years later, they're like, by the way, you might find that margarine stuff locked up in your heart. It's like, oh, too late. I hope I haven't been eating it for like the past 10 years. So what we try to think of is like, okay, what would my great mindful mover Uncle Ugg have eaten back then? Like, basically what we find to be like, I'm gonna say the word natural, and I know some like hipsters gonna be like, everything's
well,
natural.
this computer's not natural, Philip, you fucking asshole. Yeah, don't you love those? And like, I understand what you mean, man, but just hear me out here. Like, I know poison is natural. I get you. I fucking get you. Just, I guess what I'm trying to say is, what would be, intuitive for me to put in my fucking mouth. I mean, Jesus.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, people get so anal about these things, huh?
It's like, okay, we can play the semantic game, but if that's the case, we can't even talk. It's just like, okay, great. We're going to be sitting there the whole time being like, which words do we put here?
Yeah.
Conversations are not puzzles.
Oh, man. What's your, do you have a book, or what do you base your diet off of?
My favorite book of all time is Perfect Health Diet by Paul and Su-Xing Cheminay. Excellent book, excellent website. The guy who wrote it, he is amazing. Like, he's still, to this day, 10 years later, he still comments on the website that he made. He still writes comments on it.
That's cool.
If you actually write a comment, he'll probably actually answer you. It's amazing. And what I love about that book is that it's not ideological. It's not like paleo best or vegan best or this Mediterranean diet best or Atkins best. It's like, okay, what is the level of toxicity for each nutrient? Like, what level? At what point will you become toxic? What point will you become deficient? Okay, where is that middle ground, and how can we get you in there? And where does that middle ground coincide with other nutrients as well? And that's the whole point of the book. Like, basically long-term research, finding out where the toxic and deficiency levels are, and trying to get you in those levels of perfect health, basically. That's what the book's about.
Do you do blood tests, or it's just from being intuitive about it, stuff like that? Yeah.
He gives you numbers to start off with, and then you can kind of tweak from there based on your hunger. And yeah, it's really, really good. Like, I'd recommend anybody who wants to read about health to check that book out. It's the best one I've read.
And that's where you also got your intermittent fasting.
Yep, absolutely. And so he has a lot about intermittent fasting. He has a lot about basically the whole gist of the book. Basically, is that there's 3 things that you want to do for the most part. You want to make sure that you're not nutrient deficient. You want to make sure that you are avoiding really, really, really common food toxins, and you want to make sure that you're fighting off infections. And the intermittent fasting part, a lot of it's about infections.
So that's your big, kind of covers a lot of things. Big bang for your buck.
Yeah, absolutely. Great book. I love it. I read it. I've read it I think once a year for the past 3 years.
Oh, wow. And so you don't get a lot of blood work done, stuff like that? Not really a big believer in it, huh?
I don't. If you have, something you're really testing for, or trying to see if you have, I don't know, the clap or something like that, then it's like...
Shit, how'd you know?
Doctor, I got this rash. And
Looks like
I mean,
diamonds. I don't know.
I would only recommend doing blood test after you consult Google, because Google is the best diagnosis.
Oh yeah, they know everything. They know
They know.
everything. Or YouTube. YouTube works too. Yeah.
Or ask a doctor friend at a party, like, oh, your doctor? Well, hang on. It's like, let me show you like this rash in my butt. It's like, I'm a psychologist. And it's like, yeah, but you're a doctor, so.
Yeah, and
Like,
I've done some of those like Poliquin-esque kind of red blood cell count, magnesium test, and hair and follicle test, and even if they're accurate, I think it does come down to like at that point in time,
yes.
this is what's up. Tomorrow at that same time could be a little different.
Could be totally different. Dude, one of my friends, he was just like playing around with it. He took these tests, these certain blood tests. I forgot which ones it was, but he took them. And he wrote 2 different names, took the same sample at the same time, and just put them under 2 different names, sent them both in. Both of them came back with different results. And it's just like, wow.
Yep. So I don't know, man. Yeah, and like I said, I've been there, done that, and done all the fancy blood tests. But more and more I'm coming down to like, just pay attention to how you feel. And I just think, again, we're all so stressed and so hurried and so, pushed that it's like people don't even notice when, like, your fucking head's been hurting for 3 days. Like, maybe you should eat something different or whatever. It could be anything.
Exactly. That's what we try to do. We try to just stay on the path of, like, well, whatever we've been eating since the beginning of time, we can probably keep eating that. And we would end up growing an extra arm or anything like that. If that was going to happen, we'd probably know about it. But with some of these new supplements and stuff coming out, you might grow an extra arm. You might be patient zero. When it comes to that. So you're
definitely.
Things.
But I mean, is there things that you do avoid that you just think most people should probably be avoiding, as far as diet wise, or doing like intermittent fasting maybe?
Yeah, we kind of we don't chronically eat. So this is also in Paul's book. We don't chronically eat most grains. Rice is an exception, white rice. We don't chronically eat vegetable oils, like you mentioned, most seed oils, like you said earlier. Not chronically excess sugar, and not chronically beans. Now, that's not to say that we never, ever, ever, ever eat those things, but it's just like those things are not chronic. We don't eat those every day. Yeah. Like, you're not going to see me slamming down a pizza every single day of the week.
Yeah.
Same thing with anything else, basically. So, like, when we go, like, travel, I might loosen up. Like, oh, great, there's, they got some, like, some sort of gluten-free hipster cake. Sure, I'll have some of that. It's not a problem.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to eat that every single day compared to, like, the organ meats, the veggies, the fruits and everything. Those I'll eat chronically. And then the other things I'll eat, like, very, very infrequently, every now and then.
So you don't even focus on counting your kind of macros or paying attention. You just kind of go by feel. If you're hungry for some meat, you go for some meat.
We do a little, but it's like really, really vague. Like, and these are also numbers that Paul has. So, like, for example, we talk about like the protein that we eat pretty low protein. It's usually about like 50 or 60-ish grams.
Wow, and that's a lot lower than what most people would recommend.
Yeah, most people are around like the whole gram of body weight or something like that, like whatever the definition is. We're pretty low below that though, and we don't sit there and like put a scale out and like test every single like how much protein is on this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's pretty low, but same thing with the carbs. It's like usually like around 150 grams a day for me, for example. And Martina's way smaller than me. She's like 100 pounds, so hers is going to be more like I think around 400-ish, somewhere around there. And it's basically off Paul's numbers from his book.
Wow.
And then we know. So what?
I was going to say the protein count must have changed quite a bit from you from Ito to Poliquin days, because that's pretty high protein diets those guys recommend, the low carb. I mean, because I feel if you're doing low carb, there's just no other way about it but to eat a shitload of protein because you're hungry, man. Because you're hungry.
You're usually eating like a crap ton of protein or a crap ton of fat input. Like I remember Martina was low carbing at one point, and she was eating like 2 pounds of meat a day.
Wow.
I was like, goodness,
that's a lot.
She's like, She's like, when I sweat, it smells like ammonia, and I'm like, like,
I had that
later,
there too. Yeah, been there, done that. Yeah, where it's
years
like, you
later,
smell like
I'm like,
shit. You're like, no, I don't. You do.
and read about something I forgot where it was. Paul wrote about it too, where he's like, people they'll go on carnivore, right?
Yeah.
Carnivore diet,
Really
and they'll
popular now.
start feeling good. It's really popular.
Mm-hmm.
They start feeling good at first. There's like a carnivore honeymoon, and then eventually, I forgot the way it happens, but they'll end up getting hungrier and hungrier and hungrier and hungrier.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people will say like, "Oh, I'm adapting to carnivore. I can eat more meat now." And
Yeah.
it's like you're actually getting deficient,
Yeah,
like in something like that. So
Yeah, and what's happening also is like, even though you're not eating your carbs, your body's just creating carbs from protein more and more
yeah,
and more and more and more and more and more. It's just just going over. So that's one thing, and then yeah, it's just doing it long term. Again, I tried. I'm sure you've heard of Vince Gironda, the classic trainer. No.
yeah, yeah.
And his way of getting shredded was like, his whatever getting shredded diet. It was like, it was also like just meat diet, but he would have you refill every 2 to 3 days. That was kind of his thing, and I've done that, and yeah, man, after a few weeks, you really don't want to eat more meat. You do get tired of it. You do want some sugar. I think you do naturally crave it. It's really hard to argue that. All we ate was meat back in the day. It's just I don't know, man.
I like watching documentaries on that. Like watching, I watched one on the Hadza, and they talked about how like the hunters are not always successful at like catching an animal, like killing something, but the gatherers, the people gathering like the fruits and the roots, they always get the roots. They always get roots. Like there's never a day where they're like unsuccessful. It's like. Well, it kind of makes sense, Like if you're a gatherer and you can't like stop a tree from running away from you, you probably suck.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. And I like watching all those kind of ancestral things, but I think even I still now I'm though coming to more of a place where I'm like, well, who fucking cares what our ancestors ate, And not to say completely throw that out, but it's just like our lifestyle is so different, and hey, maybe they did eat more meat or less meat. I mean, who fucking cares? I mean, they certainly didn't have iPhones and EMF towers everywhere, and all kinds of things. So, and I do think that affects your physiology, meaning like because how you go about your day is different. It's like that old what is it, Hippocrates or whatever, the guy he recommended, where he said I think he had three doctors. It was like Dr. Diet, Dr. Sleep, and Dr. maybe Quiet or Happiness. Okay. But Dr. Movement wasn't one of them, by the way. But you know why? Because back then, to wash your dishes or anything, or not to wash your dishes, to wash your clothes or anything, it was a fucking workout. You know what I'm saying? So people kind of automatically got their movement in. So that's why that wasn't part of the philosophy. And now maybe it should be, So
I agree. I think there's, like I said, we talked about that hard work culture earlier, and it's like that already screws people up. And then it's like, back in the day, like, after you were done getting attacked by that tiger, you can relax, you can chill, you're fine after that. Yeah. But now it's like, my boss just chewed me out, and I thought I was getting tomorrow, and then he might chew me out again. So it's like you're just chronically stressed out, as opposed to before, where it's like, there's no tigers here. I guess I can relax now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
Or like even like going on Instagram. You know what I mean? Like you see a highlight reel of everyone else's life, and it's so easy to look at that and be like, why am I not there yet? I should be doing something to get there. And it's like survivorship bias,
Man, yeah, I don't know. I really think we're running an experiment here with the Instagram kind of thing. I mean, it's good and bad, of course, because you can meet great people, but it's can really throw you off there.
It's got definite pluses, but it's got definite minuses too, in terms of like, these things are going on in the back of your head that you probably don't even realize, where it's like, this is funny. I had a guy, we talk about training 1 to 2 times a week using accommodating resistance, right? Mm-hmm. And this guy was like, I was doing that and I was gaining and it was awesome and everything was going great. But then I decided, I wanted to try out training more frequently. So I blocked you and because I didn't want to see the message.
Blocked you?
He like unfollowed us, and then he's like, "I didn't want to see the truth anymore. I just wanted to like, unfollow you, and then like see everything else, blah 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 blah." And then I was like, let me guess how that happened. Did you get the idea from reading a bunch of other pages and like seeing how they talked about training more frequently? He was like, yeah, I did. I was following a lot of those. I was like, try this. Try limiting how much time you look at those people and see if you feel better. Not being constantly reminded that someone else is working out and that you should be too. It just goes on the back of your head.
Yeah, man. Just limiting your time on those things. I think it's important.
It's huge.
Oh man, so funny. So these days you don't have a sort of a guru that you look up to in the training world, anything like I mean, where do you, when you do want to train, do you go to a YouTube video and look up some guy fucking deadlifting some shit, or sorry, not deadlifting, repping out one arm chins, unlike
so yeah, I typically it's just running experiments. So like I said, I have my friend Eric. Eric and I talk about training sometimes, and typically he'll give me an idea of what about this? Or I'll ask him what about that, and we'll try to make experiments to run to see how we can get a wider range of gains without spending more time on it, or trying to get the same range while spending less time. And that's where the majority of my learning comes from nowadays. It's not so much like following a certain guru or anything like that. It's just more like, let me test something out and see if this works. So one of the tests I was running was like, how can I close a Captain of Crush without doing Captain of Crush work?
Can't be done.
Or increasing the amount of training that I'm doing. So I ended up trying thick grip one arm chin work. That didn't work, so I tried after that doing it on a towel, like a rope almost.
Okay.
And then that actually seemed to work, where it's I was able to crush it, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. Maybe I'll try doing one or two of my reps per set on the towel instead, and I'll see if that gives me grip gains without increasing the amount of time that I have to actually spend training. So, all right, another one. I was arguing with some people from the company called FRC.
Okay.
I don't know if you know. I got to a couple big arguments with them.
Yeah. No, I don't know about the arguments. Let's hear this. Tell me more drama. Tell me more.
So we were arguing with them. And one of them was basically like, oh, well, if you're using things like hanging, that's not going to improve your active mobility, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. And I was like, okay, that's a good test, actually. Let's run that. Let's run the test and see. And we ran it, and I was like, oh, hey, by tweaking my hanging, I'm able to actually improve my active range. So my active range of motion got better. The distance I can bring my arm up, past my ear, got better. And I was like, that's awesome. So one, it disproves that person who was trying to talk crap to me and be like, oh yeah, your method isn't good enough. You got to do our prereqs, bro. And
yeah, the functional training crews, they're still out there, huh? Oh,
they're some of our biggest fans, I think. They just love us for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, I get where they're coming from, right? Because it's it's probably they're working with people who are just so out of it completely. I mean, how do you start with somebody who can't even do a real push-up on their knees? You know what I mean?
Yeah, so if we have someone like that, right, we have had a lot of people like that, because a lot of people are undertrained. And it's okay, well, let's start off with an incline push-up. I had one person who had to start off with basically doing push-ups on the wall. It's she started off there.
Wow.
And gradually, over and over time, we brought her down to the ground. She was fine. Same thing with split squats. We'll have people, they can't squat down, they got injuries. We'll have a front foot elevated split squat, which is basically easier than walking upstairs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we slowly lower it down to the ground, and they're getting stronger and stronger. We have to elevate the back foot, getting stronger and stronger. We add load, getting stronger. And
so you're saying you're not using a ruler and a stick to put on my back and to twist a certain direction? And
I'm definitely using that. I use a protractor because I want to see the angles and everything too.
I mean, we make fun of it, but I mean, I don't know. For me, it was kind of instant, honestly, when I got into whatever the fitness industry or whatever, you know, it was like, I was like, this is all stupid, you know, and it was basically like, I'm like, it feels like they're trying to sell me this. This is why it's so complicated. I mean, do you think anything out of that world that you use, any of those fancy kind of functional training techniques?
So, you know, I make this like kind of half joke, half statement. If somebody just got run over by a Mack truck while they're age 80 and they have a chronic degenerative joint disease and all they can do is move their like wrists like back and forth like this, then yes, that is the exercise that we will do. But until that kind of person shows up, yeah, we'll start off where we can. We're trying to make a wider range of gains, and then we'll leave that kind of stuff for like if we really, 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 for some reason, have an extreme case who needs that. The problem I find is that a lot of times they're like, oh, this person needs it. And it's like, did you even test like a more like general approach first? No, a lot of times they didn't. You know?
Yeah, the FRC folks, you know, and I've been there and done that, and it was just like, oh man, well.
Majoring in the minor. I mean, we've all done. If you're a trainer, you've at least done it like at least one time. You've majored in the minors at some point in life. So it's like I don't blame anybody for it, but it's like no. Once you know that you can try something different, go and try it, test it out. That's our whole thing. Like, you know, always test things out, see if you can save time and get those gains without doing as much.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. And in your free time, are you still doing martial arts?
Yeah. So currently we do some boxing and usually some wrestling nowadays.
Nice.
So like I said, I started off doing Muay Thai and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and then wrestling. And then later I got into judo and boxing and sambo. And
nice, even sambo. Oh yeah, I forgot. I've seen you wear our sambo shorts before. Yeah, that's what I did growing up too. Yeah, man. That's cool.
Love those. It's so comfortable, by the way. So comfortable.
Yeah. Well, the jiu-jitsu guys and judo guys don't like our gis though, because you know they're tucked in through the loop. Do you know what I'm talking about? Russian gis. Yeah. And that's because they don't want you to be able to turn you. You know, because it is easier when you're able to use it as leverage point.
I thought it was great. I mean, I love like sambo just because it's like I like the variety in the rules. And I like how the influence of like all the other arts. Like I don't know how to pronounce it from Georgia, but like Kita Opa.
Yeah.
I've seen those Georgian grips where they reach out and they grab the belt, and it's like, well, it's cool that your boat's looped through because you're about to go for a massive ride right now.
Yeah, it really is kind of, you know, the original universal kind of martial art. I don't know the original, but that was the idea, you know, because guys went to Japan, they learned judo, and then they took some wrestling, like you said, from, you know, the Caucasus regions and all that, because that's, you know, Khabib's kind of town. Do you follow UFC these days much?
Yeah, I do.
You do? Oh, nice. Cool. So, you ready for DC and Stipe? Who's going to take it?
I'm so excited. Yeah? I'm like, oh yes, my body is ready. I hope none of them like get like injured or anything. Like,
dude, it's the worst. Like, how about fucking Tony and Khabib not for 5 times in a fucking row?
That fight is cursed.
It's forever. It's forever. Like, it's just what happened, right? It's crazy. 5 times.
That fight is cursed. It just literally is just like never going to happen, I guess. And then after watching Gaethje like fight him, and then it's like totally destroy Ferguson, it's like right now about to happen.
So how do you think Gaethje is going to do with Khabib, man? What do you think?
I think it really depends on which version of Gaethje comes in.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, I think that one who sits back and counterpunches was really effective against Ferguson, but I don't think that'll be as effective against Khabib. I think, ironically, the earlier Gaethje, who walks forward at all costs,
wild man,
would be a little bit better, because Khabib hasn't really. I think I've seen him shoot like one takedown while going backwards, like one. I think against David, something Kortzer.
I don't remember the first name, but I agree with you on that point, because I think that was Conor's mistake too. Conor didn't look like Conor, and whatever, maybe he would have still lost, but Conor was kind of a lot, like you said, backing up, kind of same thing. It's like I wanted to see him go out there and get it, you know, and that's what I think too. I'm like, I think that's the only type of fighter that could beat Khabib, because if you're just hanging back and waiting to counter, he's gonna one leg you or whatever.
exactly. And it's just like all he needs is one, and he'll shoot like one of them to be successful, and you're gonna be down to the rest of the round. So you can shoot all those takedowns. One of
Mm.
them works. Good luck. Get ready to get pounded. Like I think that happened with Dustin Poirier too. Like
Yep.
Dustin like tried to like leave his hips back and lean forward and punch at him.
Yeah.
And the one time he hurt Habib was when he went forward and kept going forward, and then it's like he stopped, took the pressure off, and it's like
Yeah.
people think like, oh, Habib's like a takedown machine, so I need to like keep on the outside. It's like no, like go
Yeah.
after the guy, because if you don't, he's gonna come after you, and that's when he's gonna shoot at you.
Yeah, I think there's definitely that aura of him, people just being scared of him, one.
Yeah.
And also coaches just, thinking that, okay, we're going to wait. And then it's like, no, dude. Yeah, like, I agree with you. I think he really needs, like, a wild man to go out there and just, and hey, he might still fucking, be taken down, but I think that's probably the only way it's going to happen if just somebody, like you said, if Justin acts like a wild man, just starts throwing shit out there and getting out there.
I think that's basically what's going to happen. It's like if he comes in the old school Justin, then yeah, I think that could be a really interesting fight. If he's the one who's going to sit back and wait, then it's like you might be playing into the
he reminds me of Cowboys sometimes, because you know how Cowboys, like, on some days Cowboys there, and then other days, like Connor's last fight, right? It's just like, nope, like I'm just not showing up today. And it's like, and I get it, you're not a machine, you're a person, but it's hard to be a fighter. I mean, I think that's the way to be a successful fighter. If you're just like a fucking, I'm just gonna do it every time. I'm gonna be me every time.
Yeah.
So who you got against DC and Stipe?
I'm gonna have to lean towards DC. What about you?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I want DC. I want my heart wants DC. But I don't know. I don't know if he will knock him out like he did in the first fight. I want to see it happen, though. My heart wants it.
Oh, sorry. I think I lost you.
Yeah. I think we're back.
Can you repeat that last part?
I just said I my heart wants DC. I want to see him knock Stipe out, but I don't know if that's gonna happen.
Yeah, it's like the same thing. It's like it kind of depends. Like, is Stipe going to do what he did last time? Because sometimes, like, I know that some fighters, they find a weakness and they're like, "Hey, that worked. I'm not gonna do it anymore." Like, no, keep doing it.
It's the same thing that we're talking about, really, though, right? That's what it comes down to. And that's one of my favorite fighters of all time, by the way, Fedor, whose career was astonishing and then massively went down, and you can say it's not his peak or whatever, but it's just like, over time, you slowly saw Fedor not being Fedor. He was always a great striker, but he started being like a striker instead of being a sambo guy who could strike well, and he kicked well, and he had takedowns, and he would armbar. I mean, how many armbars did that guy have? I mean, what I mean?
So many armbars, and like on his record, I thought that was amazing. And I thought the same thing with his fighting. It's like, okay, this guy's going to hit you, and then right when you think you're going to hit him back, he'll be taking you down. And then when he takes you down, you're going to be like, oh, I'm going to get back up. He's going to hit you in the face again. And whatever you're doing, you're always going to be one step behind this guy.
Yeah.
But then lately, he's become like kind of like, swinging and
it was that first loss to Verdum. Who triangle choked him, and but even in that fight, it was like he was just being this striker, and then I don't know if you remember Bigfoot. Remember Bigfoot Silva?
Yeah,
Bigfoot. He just raped him. I mean, Jesus. I mean, I don't know if you remember that. He just had him on the ground. He was pounding him. But this is when Bigfoot was like, I mean, he is all natural. He definitely was not taking any HGH, having his fucking head so big. I mean, do you remember that? I was shocked when he was fighting. I was legit scared. I mean, I was a huge fan back in the day, and I was like, he's gonna die.
I was like, okay, this might be a little bit like too old. Like, it's like you might need to kind of hang it up now at this point. Like, it's so hard to watch that when like a fighter is like kind of
it's rough. Gone. It's what do you think about Mike Tyson and Roy Jones coming back out? Do you hear about that?
Yeah, I think if that happens, like, I'm gonna say Roy's gonna get hurt really badly. Like,
I think so too, man. Oh God, I don't know if you know Roy Jones Jr. He's a Russian national now. They gave him a passport. He has a.
Oh really?
Yeah, I don't know. I think he knows some politician. Russia is. I mean, it's all legit, over there.
Okay, that's cool. You can go to Russia now.
We'll see. Yeah, but he's been knocked out how many times? Like 5 times in a row, something like that.
Well, Roy Jones?
Yeah, maybe
more. Oh goodness, yeah. Yeah, I don't think he's got it anymore. Like I would definitely favor Tyson and on that one,
Yeah.
especially since the last thing a boxer loses is the power of their punch. So it's like, yeah.
We'll see how it goes. And then what do we got on the UFC card? We got Sean O'Malley left. That's what I was going to ask you about.
I didn't get to watch that. Did that just happen recently?
Oh no, not this weekend. I'm talking about this following weekend.
Okay, yeah, I haven't checked that card. Who's he fighting?
I can't remember either, man.
I
Maybe
don't. Yeah,
we can look it up. But I don't know. What'd you think of his performance last time? I mean, he had a couple good performances.
he's had a couple good ones. I haven't really gotten to check it. I might have to watch his entire career. Like usually when I see a fighter, if I get interested in them, I watch their entire career from the start to the finish, wherever it's available. I haven't gotten to see his yet though. But
There's a couple fights on the YouTube channel of UFC, so you can find it there. I mean, get ready for a lot of weed. A lot of weed. He's just smoking fucking weed everywhere he goes. This guy. Oh, this last weekend I remember now. It was Derek Lewis knocked a Russian out. Olenek. I don't know if you see Olenek.
Let's see. Olenek.
Yeah. Yep. This guy with giant forearms, he just strangled everybody. Derek Lewis, man, he knocked him out. This guy, I mean, fuck, man.
I love that guy. He's like the epitome of like, you know what? I'm tired of being on the ground now. I'm gonna stand up. And, stop it. It's just wow. It's amazing.
Yeah, man.
That's heavyweight for you.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. There's some good fights. We'll see. We'll chat with you maybe later after this weekend. We'll see how this weekend goes. Well, thanks so much for your time, brother.
Thank you. I really enjoyed it.
It's been awesome, man. Yeah, take care. Maybe we can do this again sometime, yeah?
Anytime. We got a lot of free time because we don't train like the way we used to anymore.
And that's the best way to end it. Mindful Mover. You guys got anything else out there besides your Instagram, your website?
So we have our Instagram. What our handle's _mindful_mover. We've got our website, the Mindful Mover. And we have our newsletter, which you can subscribe to on our Instagram, and we have our YouTube, which is Mindful Mover as well. It's all Mindful
And if
Mover.
people want to train you, they can just email you through the Instagram or whatever. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Awesome, man. Thank you so much. Let's do this again. Take care, brother. See you, dude.
See ya.